Okay, we're at the two dots on Kuf Tes on the base. Today's daf is Kuf Yud. We're on the two dots on Kuf Tes on the base. Tan Rabbanan. Milayin l'koyin shebo umakriv kabenoisav b'chales b'chal shosh yirtzeh. In other words, we know that there's 24 mishmarim, and each mishmar was 6 pati avos. And the mishmar, there was a rotation that was set up. There was a rotation that was set up. And if you brought a carbon to the base of Mikdash, the Kahanim there, they would be entitled to the Manas Kahuna, be it the skins from the Karbanis, even the Carbonila, be it the name to Hashem, the Chazav Vishoik and the Shlamim, the Chatas and the Asham. These were given to the Kahanim who were on duty at that time. Let's say you're a Kayin and you want to bring a carbon. You want to bring a carbon. Are you subject to what? Are you subject to what? To the mishmar or not? He goes, that depends. If the kohen is able to go ahead and do the avodah, then everything is his. Everything is his. Everything belongs to him. In other words, he's ability to do the avodah, and the achila of the carbon is his, and the or of the carbon is his, because he's totally what? He's totally involved in every single aspect. Right. So says the Gemara, how do you know that a kohen can go ahead and do this? Uba b'chol avas nafshay, b'sheres. He comes anytime, but avas nafshay when he desires, b'sheres, and he goes ahead and he serves. U'minayin shabay dasay v'oy right? How do you know that what? Oh, here's Kenny. And how do you know? And how do you know that what? That the avedasai, the schar of the avoida, is the basar v'oyer shaloi. When it says avedasa, guys, it means the basar, right? How do you know the basar? How do you know the basar of the schar of the basar and the or goes to him? That no, it's not only can he bring the carbon, but he gets the carbon. Talmud Laimar v'ish es kedoshav lo yiyu, right? V'ish a man es kedoshav lo yiyu. Now the Gemara now is going to bring. So again, if you have a classic kohen, he can do both things. He can go ahead and do the avodah, and he can cut the line, and he gets to eat the carbon and he gets the skins. What happens if you have a kohen that can only eat the carbon? The kohen that can only eat the carbon, but he can't do the avodah. So, for example, he's a Baal Mum. So then he would not be able to go ahead and do the avodah, but it would be the mishmar, okay? Because he can't appoint the shliach. If you can do the avodah, you can appoint the shliach. If you can't do the avodah because you're a Baal Mum, you can't appoint the shliach. And memela, if a Baal Mum would bring a carbon, it would go to the avodah. The bringing of the carbon would go to what? To the anshe mishmar. However, we know a Baal Mum could eat kachim. A Baal Mum could eat kachim, and therefore what? He'd be able to eat it. Therefore, he'd be able to eat it. That's the gersa that we have. So says the Gemara, Ketzad im hoye Baal Mum. If he's a Baal Mum. He goes ahead right and he gives it to the avoida. He gives it, in other words, he can't do the avoida. It's brought by the kahanim of that mishmar. The avodasai and the basar of the avoida, the oirais shaloi, that would belong to the Baal Mum, because the fact the Baal Mum could eat it. That's the girsa that we have. Rashi has a different girsa. Rashi says the avoida and the oir go to the ansei mishmar since they brought it. That's what Rashi's goyris, but this is our girsa. Now, a zaken achayla, he's able to do the avoida, meaning he's in the ballpark of the avoida. He just can't eat the carbon because it's as we're going to see. So therefore, he can be any kohen he wants. He can go ahead and appoint to do the avoida. Lav dafka the anshe mishmar. However, the meat of the avoida and the skin of the anshe and of the skin would belong to Anshe Mishmar. Why? Because he can't eat it. Now, how zaken achel hechidami? Eat the matzi of it avoida. If he's able to do the avoida, avodas of oir nami tavidi day, then why are you making a chilik and saying he can appoint somebody to go ahead and do the avoida, but he doesn't get the meat or the skins? If he's in the ballpark of doing the avoida, he should get everything. Again, I gave you the answer already about the zaken, but Pashta was saying just because he's old doesn't mean he can't eat. So what does it mean over here that he can appoint anyone he's a shliach, he can go ahead and make a person go ahead and do the avoida, but he doesn't get the meat. So the one wants to know if he's able to do the avoida, he should get the meat as well. And The either loy matzi of it avoida, and if he can't do the avoida because he's too old or infirm, shliach hechi mashvi. Then how can you make a shliach? So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, guys, right? It's clear he can't do the avodah, he can only eat some mela, he can't make a shliach to do the avodah, he would get the food. But the kohen, who's a chaylo or is a zaken, what are we talking about over here? If he's too old to do the avodah, then he shouldn't be able to appoint a shliach. And if he's young enough to do the avodah, then he should get the meat as well. So what are we dealing with over here? Some Rav Papa says, Rav Papa, he's able to go ahead, what? Do the avodah al-yedei atchak. In other words, he's old, but if push comes to shove, he can do the avodah. Sheyachal avodah al-yedei atchak. Avodah al-yedei atchak, avodah he. If the kohen does the avodah al-yedei atchak, it's a good avodah. Therefore, what? Mashu shliach, he can go ahead and point the shliach. Achila of a chayler or a zaken. Chiachal al-yedei atchak. Achila gasahi. Achila gasa lav klum. Achila gasa is lav klumu. And we saw it in Sech Nazir, we saw Chav Gimel, the halacha of Taisus there brings about Achila gasa, two different pshatim. Right? Achila gasa is when you're full and you're satiated and you're just eating a little more than you should. Another one is you're gorging yourself. Gorging yourself is the big problem. Therefore, the avoida, the meat, and the org goes to Ansei Mishma because he doesn't shaykh to this. So again, the chayla, the zaken, is able to do the avoida, and maybe he can be point to shliach. But vis-a-vis achila, it's going to be considered achila gasa, a heavy achila. That's not, again, remember, it's supposed to be eaten b'mashcha. It's supposed to be eaten royally. The carbon's supposed to eat it royally. You're supposed to eat ala soiva when you're satiated. It's supposed to eat it in a very fine way. But if you're just shoving it down your throat when you're full, that's not achila. So this person's too old to eat meat, and therefore it's a achila gasa. And mele, he does not get that part of the carbon. He doesn't get that part of the carbon. Who gets the part of the carbon would be the Anshe Mishmar. Amar of Sheshes says of Sheshes, Im hoya kain tamei the carbon sibor. Now, what do we know about a carbon sibor, guys? That tuma is what is hutra or hutra b'tzibor. So therefore, even though he's kain tamei, he could do the avodah. Then nasla chomi shiyertza, because now he can appoint a shliach. He can give it to anybody he wants to, right? Since what he's able to do it, he can appoint them. However, the meat and the skin goes to the Ansei Mishmar. Now, guys, if you look at me, I'll tell you a big problem. What we know that Tuma is Hutra B'Tziba, that's only bringing the carbon. No way in the world are you able to eat the carbon. No way in the world are you able to eat the carbon. So, what you just told me? You just told me the following. He can appoint a shliach to do the avodah, because someone's tummy, he could do the avodah, and he has to give the food to the Ansei Mishmar. Now, if there are kahanim that are tahar, he should be able to go ahead and appoint a shliach. Why? Because the whole din of tumah b'tziba is what is it's no one available. Pashtus, no one available. So l'chayr, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? Fred the Gemara akasha. Nachama, Amrav Sheshes, and my Yakayin Tamei, the carbon sibor, where tumah's permitted to bring the carbon. Nice l'chol mishayirtza. He can give it again. He can do the avodah, so he can appoint anyone. You're not limited to the anshe of the mishmar. Mishmar, and the meat and the oil go to anshe mishmar because he can't eat it. Now hechidami. If there are people to capable of doing the avodah, tameimi matzi avdei, so how can he appoint a shliach? Be the leka tahirim, and if there are no tahirim, avodah of oil anshe mishmar. Again, our rule of thumb in this whole sugya is if you're in the ballpark, you can do it. If you're not in the ballpark, you can't. So you're playing two sides of the fence over here. You're telling me on one hand, there's no one available for the avodah, therefore it's hutra or hutra, and he can go ahead and appoint somebody. However, you're telling me when it comes to achila, then you give it to the Anshe Mishmar. Now, Anshe Mishmar must be their tar, because if they're tamei, they can't eat it. So now you have it's counterintuitive. If they are tar and they can eat it, then he can't appoint a shliach, only the Anshe Mishma, because they're tahar. So Mimanav Shach, what's shot over here, guys? Gavaldiga Kasha. So Amarava, Ema lebalei mum tahirim sheba oisem mishmar. Einachinami. The avoida, no one's available to do. However, the balei mum who can't do the avoida, they're capable of eating it. So if tuma is hutra b'tziba, you bring the carbon. The balei mumim, they can't do the avoida anyway. Right? And what's your kasha? They can't do that. If they can eat it, they should be able to do the avodah. No, they could eat it. They can't do the avodah. So memela, you'll be able to fill both sides of the menu. Amar Rashi, and how you kain gadol? If it's a kain gadol, ain't a nice na lechol kain sheyertze. If it's how you kain gadol oinen. If it's kain gadol that the day before the kfur of one of his relatives that is misabel over, we know a kain could do the avodah be'aninos. So in that case, nice and l'chol kain sheyirtze, you can give it to any kain he wants. And however, the meat goes to anshe mishmar. My kamashma, what's the chiddush? Tanina, kain gadol makar of mainan veina oichel. You know, he can do the avodah. He's like a tamei guy by a carbon siba. He can do the avodah, but he can't eat. So what's Rashi's chiddush? Says Gemara. I would have thought ki chas rachman Allah the kain gadol the kruvehu. The chiddush is that he can appoint someone else to do the avodah, guys. That anyone he wants. In other words, I would say that just like any coin that's an oinen can't do the avodah, I would say it's a special waiver for the kohen gadol, and that waiver is limited to the kohen gadol. So the chiddush is not the achila, guys. The chiddush is that the kohen gadol could appoint somebody else to do a shlichus. Okay, I have a chart over here. Let's chas riba. Very nice gemara over here.
So I thought the whole reason that a kohen gadol is allowed to do avodah during aninis is because there's no one else.
No, don't say that. No. I think that's an incorrect assumption. He's able to do the avodah. He's able to do the avodah. Once he's able to do the avodah, he can appoint somebody. But no, it's not. It's not default, Rabbi Yankel. It's not default. Okay, look. Now, balmum zaken chayla kain tamei tzibur kain gadol oinen. Okay, so the question is over here is he can give it to anybody he wants to if he's in the ballpark. If you're not in the ballpark, then you're limited to Anshe Mishmar. So now, the Baal Mum is able to eat. Therefore, since he's able to eat, right? Who gets the meat? He does. Who does the Avodah? The Kohen of the Mishmar. He can't cut the line because he's a Baal Mum. If he's a Zakin Chayla, he's Al Yedei Chak, he can do the Avodah. Therefore, he's not limited to the Anshe Mishmar. He can give it to anybody he wants. Because just like he can cut the line, so too, he can appoint someone else to cut the line. However, since he can't eat it because it's a kilagasa, he has to give it to Anshe Mishmar because he's not able to eat. Kohen Tameh b'korban Sibor, since he's able to do the Avodah, he gives it to any Kohen he wants. Who's eating it? Anshe Mishmar, then Yachol. This is speaking about Balei Mum. Again, they're speaking about a Balei Mum of that Mishmar. Because if there was people who could do the Avodah, then Yankel, this is where your Kohen Gadol would come in, right? Over here. Because if they're able to eat it and they're tahar, then why is he able to appoint the shliach over here? After all, he won't be able to do the avodah since he's tamei and they're tahar. So it's talking about everyone's tamei, except who? The balei mumim, they're tahar. Since they're tahar, they could eat it, but they can't do the avodah because they're balei mumim. And finally, kohen gadol oinen, he can give it to any kohen he wants. And the chiddush is that don't think you're limited to him. The special waiver of aninis is limited to the kohen gadol. The chiddush is that he can go ahead and give it over to somebody else. However, since he can't eat it, then the Anshe Mishma would get the food. So I think it's a very nice summary of what we just did. I like when I say it's a very nice summary because I like it. And you're supposed to say, yeah, it's a very nice summary. No, okay, it's Geshmak Gemara. Today's Gemara it was like Hashem's gift after yesterday's Gemara, Okay. And I guess, and you swear to him that you don't have it, umeis, and you moida, okay, this is one of the manas kahuna that we've been discussing until now. Gezla ger, right? One of the manas kahuna. V'ashal mizbeach. It goes to the mizbeach. Because why? What does the pasuk say? What does the pasuk say? Vim ein leish. Right? Vim ein leish goyel. I want to make sure I'm reading the pasuk correctly. That's why I'm looking. Vim ein leish goyel. And if the person does not have what a person to inherit him, lahashiv asham I love to return the asham to you don't have a person that there's no person to inherit him that if you stole from him you return the asham is the Karen, guys. Good. So in other words, if there's no one else to give the Karen to, right? Then what do you do? Right? Ha'asham amushav l'Hashem l'kayin. The asham, the musaf l'Hashem is given to Hashem, and Hashem gives it to the kohen. We said yesterday, right? That's the way it works. Hashem goes to Hashem, he gives it to the kohen. Milvad, aside from Ela Kippur Masher Yechaper Boy Olav. Okay, that's the pasuk. Now, Yamilas a Kesef as Asham. Again, he's going ahead. He stole from a ger, or he watched this, or in other words, any which way that he's going ahead and denying the money, guys. It can come to him beheter through a halva, through an aveda. It can come through a shem pikadin. It can come illegally by gzela. In other words, there are multiple ways that the money can come to his rishus. The point is, if you swear falsely and admit to swearing, right, then you're going to have to go ahead and pay keren chamesh Hashem. So this guy was guilty. He stole he owed money to a ger in any which way, and he went ahead and he swore falsely mismoida, and now he's going to bring the Keren and the Chaimish up to Yerushalayim to give to what he wants to give to the Kesev Asham. He wants to bring it up to the Kahanim, the carbon, who mace and he dies. Okay, and he dies. HaKesef Yinasin Labanov, the Kesef that he was going to give to the Ger. It's not the Ger dying here, guys. It's the Gazlan dying. So the Gazlan dies. It stays by his sons, because the mitzvah of Hashav is only to the Gazlan, in order they should get his kapara. So even though he was zeicha in the Gezela with the death of the ger, okay, shemei shuvin sarah kapara. Okay, so what happened over here, guys? Guys, what happened over here? Guy stole from a ger. The guy would lend money from a ger. He owed money to a ger. He went ahead. He denied it and swore to the fact. Then went ahead, he was Maida, and the ger died. So what does he have to do now? He has to give that to the Kahanim. He's going up to Yerushalayim, and he dies. Now, is there a din of Hashava on his children? Okay, that's crazy. Is there a din of Hashava on his children? HaKesef Yinasi Labanov. The money that he was going to go ahead and give to the Kahanim stays by what? It stays by his children. The Ashem Yirach Yistayev, and the carbon Ashem is grazed until it gets a mum, v'yimacher, and it's sold, v'yipludama l'nedava, and you put it in the pushka in the mizbeach. That when it's mizbeach is slow, you're going to bring karbanis called kayetz on mizbeach. Okay, so that's the din. If guess a ger that the ger dies and he dies, the children don't have to go ahead and the children can go ahead and keep it. Look at Rashi, guys. Vayimalas hakesef umeis b'derech, hakesef yunasin lebonov shel gazlin. It doesn't go to the Kahanim. It goes to the sons of the Gazlan. The zoicha bei misas hager. He was zoicha bei misas hager. When the ger died, the money that he had by him is hefker, so he's zoicha in it, right? Fellas, when a ger dies and there's no yarshim, it's hefker. It's in his rishus, so he really is zoicha in it. So why does he have to bring it to the Kahanim, right? So Ella the boy lemevar hashava. He has to be mekayim the mitzvah hashava keheri dahavile kapara, in order that he should get a kapara ashruase on his shur that he made. The hashta, and now that he's dead, sulaka kapara keeping the ma'aslay since he's dead. So Rashi explains the lumdus over here, guys. Okay, so in a normal case, the reason why he pays is to get a kapara for shua. He doesn't need a kapara anymore. It's going to help him. It's not going to help at all. So therefore, since the money really is his, Why? Because he was Zeicha and Hefka from Mises Ager. So now it stays by his children. Now it stays what? By his children. That's what the Mishnah is telling us. Okay. What do you do with the carbon? The carbon, it's since you don't need it anymore, it's a Osham Shemes Baila. Our rule of thumb, fellas, Yehuda and Yankel, this is a Kachim Dikadin that comes up all the time. There are five Chata Shemesas, they die. One of them is the Chata Shekipra Ba'aleha. One is that he got the kapara, or Chata Shemesa Ba'aleha, or that he died. The corollary is when Chatas is Halacha Mishmesina, they die. The corollary by the Osham is you don't die, you don't need the carbon anymore, but you let the carbon graze till it gets the mum, and now you're able to be paid it, and that money that you get for a pidyon, you go ahead and you put in the pushka for the mizbeach when it's slow that you're going to bring karbanis then. Okay, so Nasan kesef anshe mishmar. Let's say he gives the kesef to anshe mishmar, and then he dies before he brought the carbon asham. Ein hayoshim yachal haitzi biyadam. Once the kohen gets the money, the yoshim can't take it back. Shneimar ish asher yitain lekohen lo yiyeh. Once it's given to the kohen, it belongs to the kohen. Nasan hakesef l'hayarav. The first mishma was the mishma of Yehayarav, the kohen. So he gave the kesef l'hayarav, the asham liyadaya, and he gave the carbon asham to the next mishma, the mishma of Yodaya. What? L'daya. Yatsa, he be Yatsa. Even though he didn't give it both to the same mishma, he will be Yatsa, and he doesn't have to bring another carbon. Okay. Asham le'yarav. However, if he gives the carbon to the yarav before he gives the kesef, and the kesef le'yadaya, so he went out of order. He first gave the asham, then he gave the kesef. Im kaim asham. When he gave the asham, when he gave the kesef, the asham is still around. Then we go ahead and we tell Bnei Yariv, who has the asham, should give it. So in other words, he gave out of order. He should have given the money first to Yariv, and he didn't. He gave the animal first, and then he was makriv. He gave the money to Yedaya. So what we do is then if it's still around, we force Yariv to go ahead and give it to Yedaya. Then if the animal's not around, the Gazlan Yachzer has to go. He has to bring another asham. Anyone who brings his gazela before he brings the asham will be yatsa. But hevi ashamai, if he brings his carbon asham, in this case he gave it to the first mishma yariv. Actually, hevi gazela before he brings the gezel lo yatsa. So therefore, if you go out of order, then it's you'd have to bring in, if it's around, restore the order. If it's not around, bring a new one. If he gives the keren, he doesn't give the chaimish doesn't stop him from bringing his carbon. He can bring he can get his kapara, even though he didn't bring his carbon asham. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Yeah. We're going to go through the pasuk, guys. Okay, we're going to go through the pasuk. And the pasuk says, V'im ein le'ish gaya lahashiv asham elav ha'asham amushav Hashem lakayin milvad ela kippurim. So in that pasuk you have something called keren, something called chaimish, and something called carbon. Where the which word means keren in that pasuk? Which word means chaimish in the pasuk? And obviously ela kippurim means the carbon. So now the Gemara is going to dash it. Tana Rabbanan says the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan. Asham, when it says asham, that's the keren. Amushav, zeh chaimish. That's the chaimish. Good. So now you have everything. The word asham in the pasuk means first the keren. The word mushav in the pasuk refers to chaimish, and el kippurim is the carbon. Ayena ella asham zeh ayel. Maybe the asham is like literally what it means. A guilt means maybe that's what. Maybe that's the carbon. Now, ulamai nafkamina. What the nafkamina be? Whether you call it what a keren or you call it an asham. Lafuke midirava damarava gezel ager shechziru balayla. Gezel ager that you return at night. Layatza hechziru chatzayin layatza. My timer asham kaya rachmana. Right? Okay. So guys, if you're going to call the keren an asham, it's going to be subject to the parameters of a carbon. If you're going to call the keren asham, right, Now, what is it? My nafkamina. What cares what you call it? We know there's keren chaimish asham. My nafkamina, what you call it? Says the Gemara. I'll tell you what nafkamina is. If you call the keren asham, it's going to be subject to the halachas of asham, such as you can't bring it at night. Beyond tzavosa, you have to bring it during the day. So you would not be able to give the keren at night. Guess like you'll be able to give it to the kohen at night. Nor could you give it piecemeal. You have to give it all at once, like the carbon. You can't bring it half a carbon. You got to bring a whole carbon. So Mamela, that would be the nafkamina, what you call it. On that, the answer is Kishu Oimer. When the end of the pasuk says Milvad Ela Kippurim, it says aside from Ela Kippurim, Havi Oimer, I would say Asham Zeh Keren. I would say Asham Mat is Keren. I would say Asham is Keren. Okay, here Geshmak, very Geshmak alum this over here. When it says in the pasuk, it says the word Asham, is a Keren or an Asham? Nafkamina be if it's called. The Keren's called an Asham, be subject to Asham. Says the Gemara, it's called Keren. How do you know that? Because the end of the pasuk says Eila Kippurim. So when the end of the pasuk says it's speaking about what, right? When the end of the pasuk says it's speaking about Eila Kippurim, right? Then obviously what? It's not what. It's the Asham is not the carbon. The Asham means the Keren. Okay, that's one way to learn. Hanya Idach. Asham Zeh Keren. Hamushav Zeh Chaimish. Okay, that's exactly what we said in the first brisa. And let's switch it around. The Asham is not the Keren, the Asham is the Chaimish. Well, my nafkamina, lafuki mas nisan. What did the Mishnah say? Nasan loyas a Keren, nasan loyas a Chaimish, ein a Chaimish ma'akiv. That you can bring the carbon without the Chaimish. So now, if you're going to call it an Asham, then obviously you won't be able to bring it. You'd say that the Keren is not ma'akiv and the Asham is. So, right? Adrava, Chaimish ma'akiv, you say the Chaimish is ma'akiv. When it says, V'hesheves hashamai b'roishai, when the pasuk says, and he'll restore his Asham b'roishai, v'chimishisai, and now it says, so now it says Asham, and then it says v'chimishiso. So just like by Asham it said carbon, afterwards we know Asham and Keren, so when it says Asham v'chamishay, obviously Chaimish must be, that the Asham must be Keren, because we're using the Chaimish word Chaimish. Asham Zeh Keren. So either way, we attacked the possibility that Asham is not Keren, it might be carbon. We said no, El Kippurim. We attacked maybe Asham means Chaimish. No, it says Chamishisai, so it must be what? That's also Keren. Tanya Idach, Asham Zeh Keren, Hamushu Zeh Chaimish. Ubegezel Ager, Akasim Medaber. Speaking about Gezel Ager. Ayen El Hamushu Zeh Kefil. Maybe it's speaking about Kefil. Ubegenevis Ager, Akasim Medaber. It's saying when you steal from a ger. So how do you know it means what? A Chaimish. It's speaking about mom that pay roish, meaning principal and not kefal. Karen. Kufa. Amarava said Rava. Gezel ger shechzir b'layla. Gezel ger that you return at night. Lo yatsa. You're not lo yatsa. You're not yatsa. Ichsiru chatzayin lo yatsa. If you go ahead and return a piecemeal, you're not yatsa. My timer. Asham Chai Rachman, the Torah calls it an Asham. V'amarava, another din, Gezel Ager, she'ein boy, Shava Pruta, l'chol kayin v'kayin, Gezel Ager, you don't have for each kayin of the Mishmar, a Shava Pruta, la yatsi yidei chavasai. You won't be yotza yichiyav. Look at Rashi, guys. 2 lines from the bottom, end of the line, chol kayin v'kayin, Shava Mishmar, if you don't have enough, u'moisef mishaloi, oid lahashlim. He's going to have to go ahead and add on from his own pocketbook to be mashlam. So Gezel Ger Zaman is Kahuna, guys. But each one of the Kahanim must receive mammon, and what's the minimum amount of mammon? A shava pruta. So if the amount of Gezel Ger does not add up to a shava pruta, he's going to have to provide it from his own mallet. That's the way Rashi learns. My timer, B'chsev ha'osham ha'mushav, ache yashav l'chol kayim v'kayim. Until there's a din of Ashava, and again, there's no din of Ashava unless than a Shava Pruta. So it says, its pasuk says, "It's Hashem Amushav." It must be returned. It must be something that's royal Hashava, and that's a Shava Pruta. Tremendous Kiddush. Boy Rava says Rava the following: Ein boy mishmeres Yahayariv. Yahayariv is a larger mishmar. Let's say, in other words, there were a lot of people in this mishmar, and he doesn't have enough for them. However, the yesh boy on the days. The Mishmeres, Yedaya, which is a smaller, he would have enough. So one he has, So what's the question? Hekidam. Now we want to know if he's his chiyuv. Hekidam, what's the case? Elaim with the yoyev liyadaya b'mishmeres yadaya pa isbei. He's given to Yadaya that he had enough for in the Mishmar of Yadaya. What's the Shaila? Obviously, that's a no-brainer. He has enough for each and every one of them. You be Yaitza Lahashav Mushav, you be Yaitza the Chiyav Hashava, and you're good. So it's Richi. Here's the case, guys. The Yavei Liyadaya b'mishmartoi dehayarev. Who is serving now when this guy comes off with Gezla Ger? It's Yayarev with his large chelik, with his large amount of people. What he does is he gives it to who? He gives it to Yedaya. So he's not giving it to the people of the Mishmar that are serving at the time. And they're the ones that are Zayt in it. So what's the Shaila? What's the Chayra? I would say it's pretty obvious that he's not Zaycha. Says the Gemara, Mi Amrina, do we say, Kivin the Lav Mishmartoi, since it's not the Mishmers of Yedaya, who V'loi Klomu, he wasn't Yotzei Dashava, because there wasn't enough of a Shava Puta to go around for each and every one. Dilma kivin lechazi meikara, right? Liyadayakai. Since when he brought it up, it was not in the ballpark of being yoitza shavapruta yariv. In other words, let's say there are 20 shavaprutas and there's 25 people in your yariv, but there are 20 people in Yadaya. So I only have 20 to begin with. So this was not seen to your yariv because it was 25. And therefore, even though he's the mishmar working now, maybe these 20 were designated for Yadaya because they're 20. And it's such a good shaila, the Gemara says teku. It means the shaila, we have to wait for Eliyahu Navi to answer the shaila. Now it says in the Gemara in Kedushin, L'chol b'nei Aroin tiyeh ish ka'achiv, that the Kahanim, they're not able to go ahead. We had this in Kedushin, guys. You're not able to go ahead and switch it around. Daf Gimel. You can't barter. If you get a piece of carbon, let's say you like the top of the meat, and the other guy likes the bottom of the meat or the end of the meat. Whatever you get, that's it. You can't go ahead and barter. You can't bar the pieces, right? You can't bar the pieces. That's what we learn out. So boy Rav, with that in mind, boy Rav, the Kahanim, Mahu sheyichlaku gezla ger keneged gezla ger. Maybe they want to switch around. Maybe could they barter gezla ger? Miyamin asham kari rachmanon. They called it an asham, like we said on the Amid Aleph. It's called an asham. Therefore, you can't give it at night, and therefore you can't give it lechatzoyin. Therefore, just like you can't barter karbonis, you can't barter gezla ger. Ma asham ein cholkin asham keneged asham av gezel ein cholkin gezla ger keneged gezla ger. Idilma gezla ger memaynahu. It's the moment of the kayin. Therefore, since the moment of the kayin, you're able to go ahead and switch it around. And since it's the moment of the kayin, you should be able to go ahead and switch it around. That's what the Gemara wants to know. So Hada Pashta, after Rabbi asked the Shaila, he was Paishit, Asham Kay Rachmana, they call it an Asham, and therefore, just like you can't switch Karbonis, you can't switch Gesal Ger. Vachabri the Rav Masni law, he says it openly, he doesn't ask it as a Shaila, he says it's a fait to complete. Ama Rava, Kahanim in Cholkim Gesal Ger, connect Gesal Ger. Kahanim cannot go ahead and divide Gesal Ger, connect Gesal Ger. My time, what's the reason? Asham Kay Rachmana, the Torah calls it what? An Asham. Okay, now, where did the Kahanim get it from, guys? So we said the pasuk. It was interesting. Ein ish lagoyel lahashiv ha'ashem elav hamushiv lahashem la'koyin. It comes from Hashem. When Hashem gives it to the koyin, is he giving it to Mitaris Yerusha, or is he giving it Mitaris Matana? When Hashem gives it to the koyin, is he giving it Mitaris Yerusha, or is he giving it Mitaris Matana? The Gemara suggests the following. If it comes Mitaris Yerusha, you take what you get, no questions asked. If it comes Mitaris Matana, then it has to be something that's a Matana. So what's the case? The Gesla Ger, he steals from the Ger Chametz, Favol Pesach. Guys, he steals from the Ger Chametz, Favol Pesach. The Ger dies. He has a mitzvah Shava. He has to give the Chametz to the Kahanim. If it's a din in Yerusha, whatever he inherited, that's what he's giving back. If it's then a matana, right, then what's he getting? He's getting nothing. It's worthless. So that would be the nafkamina. Says the Gemara, boy Rava, kahanim begezla ger. When it comes to gezla ger, yarshim have, are they yarshim? Or mikabel matanas have? And again, the lumdus is, what does it say? It comes from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu gave it to them, la Hashem la kayin, was he giving them mitaris kahuna, or mitaris matana, or Yerusha? My nafkamina. What's the nafkamina? Kigoyin shegozal chametz shavalo lePesach. And then the ger died, and he brings it to the Kahanim. Ki amit yarshim have hainu hay the yarsei moiris. This is what he inherited. Hashem. This is what Hashem gave them. This is what they get. V'yam mekali matanas hahu matana kam rachmana in the leisavu. They should be given to koina matana. Matana means something you can use. It's not giving them anything. It's not a matana. I give you a piece of lint. I'm not giving a matana. It's worthless. Okay, that's the way Ravi asked the Shaila. Rav Zera boy hachi. Rav Zera asked the Shaila the following way. Says Rav Zera, I feel it him saloimar, even to say shemekavli matana have haloi boilon, that the kahana would have to accept the korban shalav lePesach. Just like you steal, guys, you say hari shalach lefanecha. Just like you steal, you say hari shalach lefanecha. So who would then over here by matana? Once you go ahead and you give it back, that's it. I feel him tim saloimar shekil matana have haloi boilon won't be a shaila. That he matana rachmana deneso. That's what you give. So in other words, there would be no nafkamina between matana and Yerusha, according to Reb Zera. So we're looking for another nafkamina. Ella ki kami boilon. When's the shaila? Ki goin shenaflu loi esa behemus begezel ager. He got 10 behemus begezel ager. He got 10 animals begezel ager. So in other words, he stole 10 animals gezel ager. One second. Let's listen to this Lamdish Shaila. He stole 10 animals from the ger, and they were not escalated. They weren't tithed. And we know every 10 animals you have to take off Meister Behema. Meister Behema, if it's given as Yerusha, you have to separate Meister Behema. If you inherit it, let's say they inherit it, they didn't divide it yet, they'd have to go ahead and take off Meister Behema. But if you get it as a matana, you don't have to. You give it as a matana, then you don't have to. So that would be the nafkamina. If you view Manisvat as Gezel Ger, as a matana, then they would not have to separate Meister Behema. If you view it as Yerusha, they would. Says the Gemara. Kikomi boiling, shenaflu esa behemus begezel ger. V'chayve lafushe minayu meiser aloi. Yorshim have are the Yorshim v'omamar kfanu b'tfisas abayis chayavim. If they're coined up from the estate, the chayvim gezel ger. Excuse me, in meiser behema. Dilma mekabli matanas have v'tanan halakeach v'nitlu matanas. Someone who buys animals or someone who's given as matana patam meiser behema. My what's the din? Okay, my what's the din? Okay, so now we're going to be pushed the shaila that's the matana. We're going to go through the 24 matnas kuhuna, guys. We're going to go through the 24 matnas kuhuna. My toshma. Esnu we have matanas kuhuna. Nidlu kahanim. There were 24 matnas kuhuna that would give him out to the kahanim. 24. Esa ve'eluhein. Esa b'migdash. 10 in the migdash. V'dalav Yerushalayim. 4 that they in Yerushalayim they ate. Esa b'gulin and 10 in outside the Yerushalayim. Esa b'migdash. Let's go through the 10. Chatas behema is 1. Chatas oif is 2. Asham vadai is 3. Asham toli is 4. And Asham toli again, you bring whether it's a suffix, whether one chatika, 2 chatikas machloikis, whether you ate chaylev, you have basa, whatever it is. Sivchei sham ate sibor. That's the carbon of that goes on shvuas, the shtei kvasim. That's 5. Like shemen. Shal Mitzayra, the day, the 8th day when he comes and brings it, there's a like Shemin. They put it on his thumbs and his head, got the extra. Umoisa Oimer, the extra part of the Oimer, Shtei Alechem, you get on Telechem on Shuis, which mattered the Chodesh in the Medina, Alechem Aponim, that they divided every Shabbos. Shiar Menachos, and number 10 would be the leftover Menachos. Those are the 10 that the Kahanim that had to be eaten in the base of English proper, guys. Sivchei Shamit Sibur these are Kivsei Atzeres, they are Katshe Kedoshim. These are only Shlamim that are Katshe Kedoshim. Ba'arba Yerushalayim, what are the 4 that have to be Yerushalayim? Abachayra, Karban Bachar, Babikurim, that's brought Shavuos time, 7 fruits. Ba'amurim and Atoida ve'el Nazir, and that part that's separated from the Toida and Shlamim, I guess, at the Chazar Shoik, and the El Nazir, that's 3. Ba'ayras Kachim is 4. Ba'asor B'gvulin, Shum is 1. Shum is Maisa that they got from the Levi's Maiserishan is 2. Chal is 3. Reish Zagez, he's discussed recently, is 4. Matanis is the Zoya L'Chaim Yakeva, 5. Pidyon Aben is 6. Pidyon Petach Hamor is 7. Stay Achuza, that if person's magdashit and doesn't redeem it and it's sold, it goes to the Kahanim. The Stay Charomim, a person makes a set of Cherim, Hashem, is 9. The Gezel Ger is number 10. The Kokori Mios Matana. And you're calling Gezel Ger Matana, not a Yerusha. Shmamino, Mekabli Matana Sabe. Shmamino, what? It's one Mekabli Matana. Shmamino, you have a good raya. Okay, say a kapitel Tehillim.